Pine Ridge Reservation, haven or prison. Life for Native people has never been easy, especially for those that live on Pine Ridge Reservation. The people of the Oglala Sioux have been living in South Dakota since 1889. They've experienced hardships such as betrayal of multiple treaties, shortage of sufficient educational facilities, and high mortality rates due to gang violence and alcohol. As we'll look, those in power have little regard for the people of Pine Ridge, and this disposition needs to change before it's too late. The first and most important factor of this tribe's plight is betrayal of multiple treaties of the United States imposed upon them. According to an excerpt from American Originals, the treaty that forced the Oglala to move to South Dakota and establish Pine Ridge Reservation was the Treaty of Fort Laramie, Bredoff, 2001. This treaty was signed by the Oglala Sioux on April 29, 1868, and it recognized the Black Hills in South Dakota as part of the Sioux Territory. In 1874, General Custer led an expedition into the Black Hills with miners looking for gold. The miners requested protection by the military presence against roaming bands of natives who were hunting game on their land as established by the treaty. The United States sent a detachment in 1876 against the Cheyenne and Sioux at the River of Little Bighorn and was annihilated. After this, the United States continued to hold battle with the Sioux until seizing the land illegally in 1877. The legal ownership of the Black Hills is still disputed between the Sioux and the United States today. In his TED Talk, Aaron Huey, a photographer that spent years among the Lakota, documented their hardships. TED Talk 2010. According to his documents and a map of what the U.S. would look like had the Treaty of Fort Laramie been maintained, the Lakota Sioux lands would extend from Montana, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, and part of Iowa. The second of the hardships that the population of Pine Ridge experiences is a shortage of acceptable educational facilities. In a report by MSNBC, Tremaine Lee reported that during the 2013-2014 school year, only 1 out of every 4 Bureau of Indian Education funded schools met the state-defined proficiency standards, Lee 2014. 1 out of 3 are restructuring due to chronic academic failure. During the 2018-2019 school year, less than 1 in 4 Native American students in grades 3 to 8 and grade 11 was rated as proficient in reading and writing on state standardized tests. According to the 2019 National Assessment of Educational Progress, Native students continue to perform far worse than white students in South Dakota across almost all measures of academic achievement. Roughly 1 in 7 Native American students was proficient in math, and just 1 in 8 was proficient in science. On-time graduation rates for Native American students also are lower than for every other racial group in the state at just 54%, compared with the rate of 85% for students of all backgrounds, according to the state report card. According to the National Center for Children in Poverty, 82% of children whose parents didn't have a high school diploma were living in low-income families. The final plight of the Oglala Sioux are the high mortality rates due to gang violence and alcoholism. Of the 3,142 counties in the United States, Oglala Lakota County is known as one of the poorest and has among the shortest life expectancies of any group in the Western Hemisphere, which is approximately 47 years for males and 52 for females. The infant mortality rate is 5 times at the United States national average, and the adolescent suicide rate is 4 times the United States national average. 80% of the population is unemployed, and 54% of the residents live below the federal poverty line, with violence and alcohol playing major roles in creating these shocking statistics. Alcoholism affects an estimated 85% of the families, according to Stephanie Woodward in her article Gold Mines in Hell, 100 Reporters, February 2012. Estimates suggest that alcoholism affects up to 2/3 of adults on Pine Ridge Reservation. Nearly 1/4 of babies are born have fetal alcohol syndrome, according to a report in the Medical Journal of Pediatrics, Hoym H. et al., 2005. Now that the problems have been identified, we can present some possible solutions. In response to the neglect that the United States has shown towards Pine Ridge, reparations should be made. Because the ownership of the Black Hills has been legally disputed between the Oglala Sioux and the U.S. government, it should be returned to Native peoples. Located in the heart of Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, the Lakota Waldorf School, LWS, is an independent, non-sectarian, and tuition-free school serving children grades K through 8. By increasing funding and expansion of and for the endeavors underway, positive impacts could result. LWS was founded in 1993 by the parents of Oglala Lakota tribe committed to an alternative vision of education, one that would help Lakota children connect with their roots and also prepare them for academically meeting the world. The Waldorf curriculum was chosen because it dovetails so well with the Lakota culture and is well positioned to preserve the Lakota language. Lakota Waldorf School homepage. Another is the Oglala Lakota College with an enrollment of 1,400 students. It is one of the earliest tribal colleges in the nation and part of the American Institution building of the last 40 years, needing expansion and better funding. First started as a 2-year community college, it expanded to offer 4-year baccalaureate degrees, as well as a master's in Lakota leadership. It is operated by tribal people with a tribal board, according to the Oglala Lakota College official website. The final change that can happen towards violence and alcohol. Expansion of funding and services for Pine Ridge Justice Center, as its efforts to meet unique needs for tribal legal system shows results since its founding a decade ago. Funded by a $40 million grant from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Oglala Sioux Tribe's freestanding Justice Center in Pine Ridge houses the tribe's judicial system under one roof to accommodate the unique needs of the Indian community legal systems. Roxanne Tubles of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, Grants and Contracts Manager, stated, "Our new judicial center will help curb crime, improve public safety, and serve as a model for future BIA reservation projects." Lakota Times, 2011. A ceremonial outdoor circular courtyard will serve as a space for restorative justice communities ceremonies, reflection, and healing. All public spaces and major waiting areas will surround the courtyard. A special courtroom will accommodate circle sentencing and talking circle events to keep traditional Native peacemaking principles. As we have seen, the Oglala Lakota Sioux of Pine Ridge Reservation have lived in an environment reminiscent of a third world country. Due to gross negligence from the United States government concerning broken treaties, a shortage of sufficient educational facilities, and an excess of gang violence and alcohol-related deaths, these people have been among America's forgotten population. If the government does not step up and honor the treaties of old, the situation for the Lakota Sioux will never improve, and neither will the image that natives hold for the United States. It is time for this country to live up to its claim of being a land of equal opportunity and a place where people of all colors can truly be free.